Nowadays, it's very easy to discover your ancestral origins and meet your distant relatives. You buy a DNA kit, swab your cheek, send it to a company and wait for results. DNA tests have become so advanced that you can even use them to find out more about your health. That being said, health-related results you can get from a DNA test are fairly limited. But you can still use them to get a bit more info on diseases that run in your family. The most important thing you should know about DNA ancestry tests is that not all companies use methods validated by independent scientists. So make sure you run a background check before you do yours. You should also bear in mind that there are some things DNA ancestry tests can and can't do for your history and health. But before we get to that, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We have more awesome content coming your way. How do DNA tests work? There are a lot of companies that offer the service of discovering your ancestral origins, but there is only one that uses FDA-approved DNA tests that provide health data. Do you know how DNA tests work? Well, let's just say there's a lot a lab can do with a saliva sample. They can look at different genetic markers that help establish the ancestral background and even ethnicities just by looking at ultrasounds. The lab can also look at mitochondrial DNA that helps trace maternal lineage, or Y chromosome in men that helps trace paternal lineage. But what can a DNA test tell you about your health? The only FDA-approved company that uses DNA tests to provide health data is 23andMe. They can test for 3 types of health information: reproductive information on about 40 different conditions that help determine if you're a carrier, information on 10 genetic conditions that they are approved to test for, and wellness and trait information. Now, many researchers don't consider the last type as health-related because it provides information on how your body reacts to caffeine, your athletic abilities, etc. But it's always good to know, if that's what you're after. 23andMe also focuses on clinical genetic tests that tell people whether they will develop a certain disease. The test doesn't guarantee a person will develop it during their lifetime, just that their chances may be higher. DNA ancestry tests can provide a bit more information on the overall health, but they shouldn't be considered as a definitive result. Are DNA tests reliable? Each company uses a different reference set to generate ancestry background, and while the test results won't be identical between companies, they will be similar. Nevertheless, the information on ancestry background is very accurate, regardless of the reference set. For example, 23andMe offers 10 different conditions for ancestry background, and they are all very accurate. Not only that, but as mentioned earlier, all of their tests are FDA approved. Some people run raw data through third-party software which may not be as reliable as lab results. Such tests can sometimes be falsely positive or not true. They can even say that a person has a specific mutation that they don't actually have. It all depends on how the results are interpreted, which is extremely important to the process. A lab can produce accurate results, whereas online services may often be wrong. What are the risks of DNA testing? People can get a lot of good information out of ancestry testing. It's always good to know where your family comes from, but occasionally it comes with unexpected information. Sometimes people discover they have half-siblings or find out that there was an egg or sperm donor in the family. In some of the more extreme cases, people have found evidence of incestuous relationships. The marketing for ancestral tests doesn't talk about these things, so it's very important that you go into the entire process with your eyes wide open. Most companies require you to opt in to share info because you should always expect the unexpected. But people just don't think about the other side of DNA testing. When it comes to the health aspect of it, it's important to understand that people know what type of information they are testing for. Some people don't really want to discover they have a disease they can't do anything about. Others do it purely for insurance or financial planning, so they don't become a burden to their family later in life. Overall, DNA ancestry tests can tell you a lot about your ancestors, but they can't really do disease-related research of your entire family tree. If you plan on doing DNA ancestry tests, make sure to prepare yourself and know that anything is possible. And what about you? Have you or anyone you know tried to discover their ancestral origins? If so, were you reunited with your long-lost cousins? Let us know in the comment section below.